Hi friends, welcome to the first video of 2024. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. I hope 2023 treated you well, and if it hasn't, we are here for a new year. Video is all going to be about my goals for the year, wrapping up last year, and sort of giving you guys an idea of what I want my 2024 to look like. And I want to talk down in the comments about what you guys want for this year. I would love to start a conversation, so make sure you leave your goals down below. We'll start with my goals for the year, and then we will move on to some habit trackers. We'll set up my journal. We'll go through some of my unread books because that's a goal of mine. So I do have a goals tracker for life, and I have a goals tracker for content. Content, I think, is something personal that I'm going to not talk about. I don't really feel like it's relevant to anybody but me. So we'll talk about my life goals. I have life goals that are my whole life, literally my life's goals. And then I have goals for the year. And I have them broken down into personal, health, and relationships. I use a Notion tracker for all of my goals and also all my reading and stuff like that. First up, let's talk about my personal goals. So these are things to do with myself, not necessarily my health or my interpersonal relationships, but just things that I want to accomplish this year. First, I want to really get into crocheting and felting. So I want to crochet a blanket, and I also want to felt a set of woodland creatures by the end of the year, even if it's just a pre-made thing that has instructions and stuff, and use them as home decor, but maybe end goal opening a shop or something like that and selling them. I really love woodland creatures, and I would love to have some for my office, on my bookshelves and stuff like that, and just use them as decor. I have a lot of stage settings ideas, how I want to stage them and stuff. So a big goal of mine is to get through that. And if I meet the goals, obviously I'll set new ones, but that is the goals for the end of the year. I also want to read my entire unread physical TBR. I usually try to get this done by the end of the year, and I just didn't prioritize it this year. Honestly, within the last couple of weeks, I have done a lot of retail therapy, and I got some books that I haven't read yet, which is not usually my spending habits for books. But I want to get that physical TBR down again, listen to the audiobooks that I have purchased, and just get back to spending money on books that I've already read. The next two things that I have are definitely more immediate, and they're things that I want to carry into the year. I want to establish a reset routine, a weekly and a monthly reset routine that works with my schedule and that I feel fulfills me and just allows me to kind of reset, especially towards the end of the month when the majority of my PMDD episodes are. I want to have a reset where I go into the month feeling good. I don't have a particularly busy or hectic life, but I do thrive on routine and doing the same things over and over again. And I find that if I don't follow my routines, I get very stressed out, and it's almost hard for me to function in a lot of ways. So I want to establish a good, healthy routine that works for me, not something that is built on what other people are doing or recommended routines. I want to find my own routine that works for my body and that makes sense and is healthy for me. So I don't know what that looks like, but we're gonna figure it out. Then kind of back to the felting and the stitching, I want to start a concept sketchbook for all of my projects. Now, I cannot draw, so it's going to be a work in progress, but I'm thinking that if I start felting and crocheting around the same time that I start sketching, hopefully by the time that I'm ready to start these full-scale projects, I will be decent enough at drawing that I can kind of sketch the ideas that I have in my head that I then want to turn into whatever I want it to be. And then lastly, I want to read 200 books for the year. I have consistently read 200 books since I started tracking my reading in 2020. I have read mostly more than that. Up to 1 year I read 320 something books, but I like to keep it the 200 because it's a lofty goal, but it also doesn't feel like too much because I do read a lot. So then we have some health goals. First up, we have journal every day of an episode. If you don't know, I have PMDD, and one of the things that I really want to prioritize is journaling. I have found that when I'm able to journal and when I'm able to sit down and journal, I feel a lot more clear-headed, and I'm able to logically think through things in a way that I'm not usually able to because I'm a very emotional person. And I also want to journal once a week outside of an episode. So journal every day of an episode, and also journal once a week when I'm not in an episode for the same reasons. And lastly, I want to get some sort of movement in 3 times a week. This is probably the hardest health goal that I have, that I find is really hard to consistently follow. It's one of those things where I just don't have a discipline for it. I know plenty of people that have movement routines and they don't like it, but they have the discipline to continue, and that's just never something that I have had, really. And health and movement and working out and all of that is such a hard subject for a lot of people, and I have been trying to work through my own issues with that, and I want to get into a place where movement is a good thing for me, where I feel good doing it and I don't put any sort of like expectations on myself. So 3 times a week might be a little much. I might end up liking it a lot, doing it every day, and want to do it more, who knows, but at the moment I would like to do 3 times a week. I do think that's doable. I just kind of have to push myself a little bit. Then we have relationships. This is kind of going to be my priority for the year because I think a lot of the relationships in my life have suffered because of the things that went on last year with my well-being, and I want to focus a lot more on that. I think it's very easy for me to isolate myself, and I get into these positions where I've isolated myself and then I feel very alone. So I do have some relationship priorities. I do want to make sure that my partner and I are having regular date nights, getting out of the house, doing things together. Obviously, last year, financially, mentally, it was a lot, and we're finally getting back to a place where we can comfortably do that, and that's something that I want to prioritize. I also want to make one new friend. For anybody who is an introvert or maybe has anxiety or any other neurospicy things, it can be hard to socially put yourself out there, but I want to prioritize that. I want to make sure that I have a strong support system and people that I am nourishing relationships with. And then lastly, I want to plan one friend night a month. So that could be going and doing something with my mom, or I don't know, it could be anything. Just prioritizing, again, the relationships in my life, whether that be like an extra date with my partner or something like that. Maybe a FaceTime call with Tamika, because she doesn't live anywhere near me, but just stuff like that. That's what I want my year to be, is prioritizing the good relationships in my life, with myself and with others. Those are my big goals. I've been talking a lot, so let's go over my mood trackers, and then we'll move on to my unread books. So I have an entire stack of unread books that I would like to go through with you guys so we can talk about sort of my goal of reading my unread books. This is an assortment of manga, fantasy, romance, historical romance, a plethora of different genres and kind of moods. So I'm going to read them as my mood reading self sees fit. But I thought I would go over them with you so you guys kind of know what's coming up for the rest of the year. And then if you guys are interested in knowing like my Kindle TBR and my Audible TBR, I can go through those as well in a separate video. Just let me know down below. The Scarlet Alchemist. This is one of the recent Fairy Loot YA box picks. And it is a fantasy, a YA fantasy, and it is set in China. And it has to do with alchemy. I believe there's a romance and monsters. I am not a huge YA, fantasy, YA in general person, but I, of course, want to read the books that I purchase. I sort of get the Fairy Loot box as like a collector, so I more purchase these on a book collector standpoint, not a book reader. Still gonna try to read them, but yeah. So next up we have The Devil in Disguise. This is one of the books in the Ravenol series. I believe it's the one that I have to read next. I have the rest of the Ravenol series in addition to this. This is a historical romance series about the Ravenol family, and there isn't like an underlying storyline. I've heard great things about that one. It's a crossover from The Wallflowers, which I have read. I didn't love the Wallflower series, but I wanted to read it before I read the Ravenols so that I kind of knew who each character was, like the kids and all that kind of stuff, and so I had some sort of backstory. I don't think that's a requirement, but for just like the emotional aspect, I wanted to know the people involved. So kind of in the same vein, this is Darling Beast, which I have read, I'm pretty sure. Possibly not. I don't know which one this is in the series, but I sort of just have it as a stand-in because I have to read the rest of the Maiden Lane series, which is like a Batman meets like Peaky Blinders historical romance about this place in London called St. Giles. That's like the poor area of London. There's crime, and there is the ghost of St. Giles, who is like a vigilante who is trying to stop crime in St. Giles. So I need to finish out this series as well. Now, these two were a goal of mine for December, and I just didn't get to them. Not beating myself up for it, but I would like to finish them in the new year. I have all of the Ravenol books. I don't think I have all of the Maiden Lane books. I think I have up to like 10 or something, and then I'm going to have to get the rest of them. So then we have The Savage by Sophie Lark. This is the last book in the Kingmaker series. I read the Kingmakers years ago. I think it was like 2022 maybe, and I really, really liked it. And then she came out with this, which was like an afterthought book in my opinion. Like, I don't think she ever was planning to write the story, but she sort of did it as like a fan service. And this is about two characters that were side characters in the other parts of the series, and they sort of have like a criminal enterprise together. And I've heard very mixed things about this. I don't know if I'm really interested in reading it. Mostly I got it because I wanted to have the original covers of all of her books because she moved to discrete covers, so they were no longer printing the original covers with the guys on it, and I wanted to have it because I do love all of her other books. I just don't know if I want to really read this one. Next up, we have a new addition to the library, which is The Bladed Faith. I picked this up recently. I have heard good things about it from other epic fantasy readers, and this seems to be about Cyrus, who is from an invaded country, and his parents get killed in front of him. He gets held prisoner, and then a mysterious group of revolutionaries break him free. And they give him the chance for revenge. In exchange, he has to become a figurehead of their rebellion. So, I've heard good things, and once I'm in like a true fantasy mood, I will pick this one up. First up, we have The Bone Shard Daughter. I don't know if this is a fantasy with a romance or just a straight fantasy, but this is about bone magic, I believe. Then we have the entire Rain Wild trilogy. This is one of the later books in Robin Hobb's universe, so I do want to read those first. I just don't own them, but I have, they're all on Scribd or Everand or whatever it's rebranded as now, but I'm going to listen to those first and then get to the Rain Wilds. Next up, we have the Well of Ascension, which is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy. It has been one of my goals for the past several years to get through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, at least get to the Stormlight Archives. So I'm sort of caught up to as he's releasing them. So the next step for me is to finish out the Mistborn series. We have Malice by John Gwynne. This is one of his first books, I believe. As far as I know, this is like his least beloved series, but it's basically told in 4 points of view. Again, I've heard that this one is not everybody's favorite. It's more of a typical fantasy, but I think that'll be a good place to start with him. So then we have some other YAs. First up, we have The Devil's Thief, which is the second book in the Last Magician series. I need to read the second and third one. I read the first one years ago and really liked it. I impulsively bought the entire trilogy, and I really need to read them. It's been on my list for a while to get to them, and I just don't. So I need to make a decision on this year, whether I'm going to read them or not. We have another Fairy Loot edition, which is If I Have to Be Haunted. This is a gorgeous book, and I believe it is about a girl who can see ghosts. It's a romance, and it says it also touches on the power and conflicts of mother-daughter love, first romance, and finding your place in the world while honoring your culture. This is probably the one that I'm second most excited about to get to of all of the Fairy Loots that I've gotten so far, and that is The Forest Grimm. This is basically an amalgamation of fairy tales, and it's about Clara, who embarks on a journey into the deadly forest to procure the Book of Fortunes, to reverse the curse, and save her mother and her village. And I believe it also has a romance. Sounds spooky and delightful and set in a forest, and what could be better than that? And then we have the one that I'm most excited about, which is What the River Knows. This is the naked hardcover because I have it naked on my shelves. It's a gorgeous edition, but this is the dust jacket for What the River Knows. So this is about a girl who loses her parents. She travels from Buenos Aires to Cairo to discover the truth of their death, and she gets embroiled in some magic, and she falls in love with and the assistant to her new guardian. So, very excited for this one. This is like the one I'm most anticipating getting to, and I, again, very excited for it. And then we have what I believe is a sci-fi. I got this in the Illumicrate box. Very pretty sprayed edges. This is The Principle of Movements. I think this is a sci-fi. It takes place in 6066 in a brave new galaxy. And then in 1812, we have a time traveler, and their paths intersect. Prophecy awakens in the cold darkness of space, and they must voyage through the stars, racing against time, tyranny, and the legacy of three heroes from an ancient religion who may be awakening, reincarnated in ways beyond comprehension. Our last fantasy on the list, and it is a fantasy romance. This is A Dawn of Onyx, which is about a girl who offers her life up to save her brother, and she becomes a prisoner of the most dangerous kingdom on the continent. So, kind of your bog standard fantasy romance. I've heard good things, though. And then I also have Powerless on the way. It should be here sometime within the next couple of weeks, but that is another fantasy romance that I've heard good things about. So, then we have our last couple of books. So, we have Cold Clay, which I believe is the second book in the Shady Hollow mystery series. This is a mystery series, cozy mystery, following woodland creatures. Really, really, really loved the first one, and I'm excited to continue this series. It's very cute and funny and endearing, and I'm really, really excited. Okay, the sun has moved, so we're gonna have to maneuver around that. Well, we only have a couple of books left. So we have two manga. Basically, I need to finish the entire series this year, mostly Demon Slayer. I'm on like 12 or 11 or 12, I think. I'm not loving it, liking it. I think it's good, just like the anime, but there's always something missing a little bit with the story. Then we have Jujutsu Kaisen. I have read the prequel volume. I'm caught up on the anime, and I want to read the manga. I have 1 through 4 of the manga, so I definitely want to catch up and get the rest of the series at some point this year, and then finish it out. I believe there's more still being released. And then lastly, we have a nonfiction that I want to read. Probably going to do it earlier in the year, but that is Unmasking Autism. This is a nonfiction book that I saw recommended by Allison Pages, and it is about autism and unmasking it. Basically exactly what it sounds. Discovering the new faces of neurodiversity. So I definitely want to read this sooner rather than later, and then explore other literature on autism. So if you have any recommendations, let me know down below. That is it as far as my goals, my unread TBR, all of that kind of stuff. I am excited to go into the new year with you guys. 2023 was a hell of a year. It was a doozy, to say the least, and I'm excited to see what 2024 brings. I'm hoping that it'll be a lot better and it'll be healing in a lot of ways, and I can get back to the state that I was in before all of this shit happens, but with new knowledge, and I can better understand myself and handle things better. I don't think I'm going to do a 2023 reflection. Honestly, I spent the last couple of weeks of December just trying to, like, not think, just trying to enjoy some peace, and I think I have mourned the year of 2023 as much as I needed to, and I'm just ready to move on. I've been pretty open in my vlogs in the past of what's going on and how I'm feeling and stuff like that, so I don't really feel like I need, for continuity's sake, to do a reflection. So we're just going to start 2024 out strong and hopefully end the year strong. So I will see you guys in my next video. Let me know your goals for the year down below. I would love to chat about what books you want to read, what goals you want to meet. Just start a conversation down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more content like this. I have all my socials linked down below. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.